Mihawk is a character who can be incredibly arrogant and brutal, like his legendary phrase in which he mentions that he doesn't remember the face of every insect he crushes, or when he tried to kill Luffy to see if fate would save him, as well as he can be calm and considerate with others, like when he decided not to kill Zoro to keep him traveling, or when he accepted Perona in his castle. This is a serious man, but with an ambition as great as almost any other One Piece character. He is someone who is willing to dedicate his entire life to one goal and is willing to sacrifice aspects that others consider valuable, such as a family, or a crew. Although Mihawk decided to join the Shichibukai to travel more freely, we have seen that he only collaborates with them when he has something to gain. Mihawk is completely untethered from the ways of authority in the One Piece world. It seems to me that this is what classifies him as a pirate. As far as we have seen, he doesn't really practice piracy in almost any form, but being someone who doesn't recognize the authority of the government and who decides his life to travel the seas having fights, that may be the reason why the government saw him as a pirate. Mihawk has generated an aura of invincibility for years. He was one of the characters that were at the top of the One Piece world that first appeared, and it has made us wait years to see him fight with all his ability. Not even in the Marineford War did we see him in difficulty. When some characters were going to the extremes of combat, Mihawk always kept his cool, and when he felt he had kept his end of the bargain to participate in the war, he left the battlefield regardless of what the Navy said. Mihawk's power level has never been completely clear, however there are many clues we can take to draw conclusions. These clues have caused controversy for years among the One Piece reading community, but in my opinion, regardless of the level of power this character actually has, the mystery and debates that have formed around him are a wise move on Oda's part, as he has kept thousands of readers hooked, both those who want to give him a low level, as well as those who give him an astronomical level. That is, the existence of Mihawk became almost legendary. Rumors, anecdotes and theories not only exist among the characters within the world of One Piece, they also exist in ours. What we can be sure of is that Mihawk only lives for combat. In his moments of boredom he goes out to sea to look for challenges, as he did with Don Krieg, whom he chased and terrorized until he left his entire crew in ruins, and all because Mihawk was bored. In my opinion, Mihawk enriches the world of One Piece quite a bit. I quite like that in a world dominated by the narrative of pirates and world government there is a lone swordsman who has risen to the pinnacle of power and recognition. When he met Whitebeard in Marineford, even though this emperor was not a swordsman, Mihawk wanted to test the difference in power between the two. This tells us that even though his target is swordsmen, Mihawk does pay attention to other warriors who have reached great power and is curious to measure himself against them. Another aspect to consider with this character is that, despite being recognized as a pirate, Mihawk has no crew. This highlights the enormous strength he must have to be considered one of the strongest characters and be chosen as Shichibukai without the need for allies. Mihawk is extremely solitary, however, he is not isolated from human ties. For example, his rivalry with Shanks is definitely a form of friendship between these two characters. When Mihawk met Luffy, the next thing he did when he had the chance, was to go to Shanks to tell him about him. Although Mihawk is shown to be very happy living in absolute solitude, Mihawk also let Perona stay at the castle and ended up bonding with her, to the point that he asked her to be careful when Perona decided to leave the island to look for Moria. In other words, Mihawk is not against social ties, apparently they are simply not his priority. Related to this point, when Mihawk understood what Luffy's greatest power was, making allies everywhere, it also showed us that Mihawk is aware of the advantages of having allies. Mihawk's life revolves around being the strongest swordsman, and the bonds he creates are also strongly linked to that way of living. When he decided to let Zoro live on his island and train him, it was something similar. From the desire to have a worthy opponent, Mihawk developed a relationship with Zoro. This was a very interesting part of both Zoro and Mihawk. Usually all the focus of this scene is put on Zoro swallowing his pride for the sake of his captain. However, it is also interesting that Mihawk, a name that can be very arrogant and lonely, put all of this aside for the potential of having the greatest rival he has ever encountered. When others get to the top, many times they begin to be overly cautious not to lose their position. However, Mihawk is willing to take risks, and even more, he is willing to help his opponents get stronger and become something that threatens Mihawk's most important accomplishment, being the strongest. Mihawk had a similar path to Saitama from One Punch Man, in that he devoted all his time and willpower into becoming stronger and having exciting fights, until one day he was too strong and lost that which he loved so much by being too successful in his goal. However, while Saitama fell into a void, despair and boredom, Mihawk seems to have found a solution to this problem, to help another swordsman become as strong as him by training him, as was the case with Zoro. Perhaps, the dream of being surpassed is the evolution of the dream of being the strongest. In addition to his rivalry with Zoro, another way Mihawk has been thrilled is when the government dissolved their alliance with him and sent the navy to hunt him down. This form of enemy is not what Mihawk is looking for so much, i.e. an opponent who is a swordsman and has the potential to defeat him. Still, clearly the navy has enough power to defeat Mihawk if they put their mind to it, so this ends up making Mihawk excited. To me, even more than his fight against Zoro, what I find very interesting is what the future holds for Mihawk. I mean, once Zoro has taken the throne as the best swordsman, I want to know what will happen to Mihawk. Will he go back to training to revive his quest to be the strongest? Or maybe he will decide to change his course and lead a quieter life. Only Adon knows what will happen with this swordsman, but I will definitely keep my eyes open to see how Mihawk's story concludes. What do you think of this character? Leave me your opinion in the comments, and thank you for watching this video.